Right, let's take this discussion further now. We speak to political analyst Levy Ndou, who joins us on the line. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. This has been a contentious bill. Your reaction to its ascension?
Good evening, good evening to the viewers at home. Indeed, this has always been a contentious issue, and it still appears to be an issue that is going to continue to be discussed, and of course we're going to have a lot of ideas and views surrounding this matter. What, in my view, becomes very important is that I still expect government to extend its approach in terms of consultation, in terms of information sharing, and do exactly what the current generations would love to see. The issue of land in South Africa, in my view, and its proper response should be done quickly so that this generation should be able to witness what they actually fought for.
So if what you're saying then does happen to extend its approach to basically public consultations and all of that, what does it mean then for its implementation?
What has always been a challenge is that with all the different approaches and strategies that government appears to have come up with since 1994, we still have people that are not happy, people that are dissatisfied that the message and the implementation does not appear to be very, very clear. As we speak now, having celebrated 30 years of democracy, we still see aggrieved communities and members of the South African population saying that what they've been expecting from government has not happened as expected. And of course, you will still get some parts of the South African population being worried that they still have to undergo certain other processes. And unfortunately, that is something that cannot be avoided. My view is that with the land issue, you cannot come up with the one-size-fits-all approach because the situations in different areas could be different and others might need the land for different purposes. But what becomes very clear is that if there cannot be any change of the status quo in terms of land ownership, we're still going to hear a lot of people and politicians still talking about this issue because it appears as if in terms of the approach, there is an element of slowlessness and leniency, which appears to be frustrating those who feel that they've been dispossessed from the past.
Given the fact that right now South Africa is under a government of national unity and some of the the parties who are vehemently opposing this particular bill are in that government of national unity, once again, there is another issue of contention here. There was a Bella Act at some point. There's quite a lot that we've seen play out in the public domain. Here we are now. What becomes the dynamics within the government of national unity with this act?
My view is that when we have the government of national unity, it does not necessarily mean that the parliamentary processes are supposed to be avoided. It does not mean that public participation should not be exercised and not hear the views of the public. It also does not mean that when you've got a government of national unity, those who are in the government of national unity should therefore take decisions not having considered all the necessary processes and the views of the public on the ground. If Parliament is able to follow all due processes until they make a presentation to the President, the views of the people should be implemented, of course, as they are, but having to look at factors like the legality and the resources if such implementation should require resources. But whatever happens should be communicated to the people in a manner that they understand the challenges that government might be coming across.
But would this be yet another test for the strength and harmony of this government of national unity?
I think there are areas where those that are in the government of national unity and ordinary citizens should be careful of, which is that even when you are in government, you don't necessarily have to ignore the views of the people on the ground. What democracy in South Africa has taught us is that those that are our leaders should be able to negotiate, they should be able to reach to one another, but at the end of the day, they should agree. This could be a very good test to show as to whether our own leaders are able to sit around the table and agree. Throwing stones at each other might not be good for all, and it might also not be good for the GNU, because what we expect is that these leaders should always be able to find ways and means to agree and do whatever they do in the best interest of South Africans and indeed those who are formerly marginalized and oppressed.
Do you think there could be any legal challenges that can follow this decision?
There could be many challenges that could come, because it would appear as if those who want to get land still have to go through the processes of negotiations, and I have not observed a situation where those who own greater portions of land would just voluntarily give the land back. So, of course, there could be areas where we could see some tensions and disagreements.
All right, let's see what happens. Thank you so much for your time. That was our political analyst there, Dr. Levy Ndou.